And awesome. All right. Welcome to our third show and tell for our academic year. We are really excited today to have Joshua Mulligan with us, who graduated from College for Creative Studies in 2014 with a major in entertainment arts, where he primarily produced short animated films. After graduating, he went into the freelance design industry, mainly focusing on creating animations and illustrations for a variety of clients locally and nationwide. His work utilizes a mix of traditional and digital design methods, with the art of crafting stories being the central motivator for his productions. Joshua has showcased his art in various Michigan galleries, art fairs, conventions, theaters, publications, and online showcases. Currently, as a drawing instructor for the CCS Foundation Department, Joshua strives to share his knowledge and understanding of perspective and figurative techniques. His goal is to inspire artists to develop their artistic visions. And having visited his class, I can say that is exactly what he does. So I'd like everyone to welcome Joshua. And Josh, you can go ahead and take it away when you are ready.
Okay, yeah. I don't know if I should start with the share or maybe just my video first. But yeah, hello everybody. Yeah, like Amy said, thank you for the nice intro. I'm Josh Mulligan. I have been working in the foundation department since I think 2019. So I started in the drawing program. Actually, before that, got my start into teaching at the with continuing studies, working at their summer camps, which I still do. Looking forward to this upcoming summer sessions and something that I always enjoy doing. I think teaching and inspiring kind of that next generation has always been something I'm passionate about, something that keeps me motivated in my own work. Seeing my students work just helps me like, oh man, that's a very cool style, or that's a very cool design, and just being able to work with them. So I'm excited to kind of just share my what I've been doing, some projects that some I've never released publicly, some have been spotlighted, and kind of guide you through. And then it has been, I think we'll have time for questions at the end. So if you have any questions about a particular project, we can go through. And then I think we'll have about 15 minutes at the end. So for time wise, because we're going till 12:30, right? Yeah. So yeah, we'll make sure that that goes. So I'll get into the start here. Okay. So my favorite style is definitely ink on paper. I think what you're going to find are many. We can go ahead and go through. So when I first kind of was in at CCS, something that I developed was this ink style, and for me, it's a meditative process. I'll have subjects and stories, but once I get into that inking, I kind of let the lines build on themselves. I kind of treat things as like a kind of like a spider web. So one shape leads into the next. Things I consider like the value, the form. But for the most part, I am kind of when I zone out, when I listen to music, that's when the designs kind of take shape. Some are going to be a little bit more uh, kind of imagined. So like this piece, for example, just something in my sketchbook as I'm sitting at either the new park downtown or just in the classrooms, doodling, sketching, drawing, something that I do every single day. So sometimes I know where the designs go. There's many that kind of get scrapped and never kind of see the next day, but this one was one that I liked that I drew recently of these kind of three friends in this kind of dreamlike state with this kind of sleepy cat. And with these stories, like some of these have some potential and some they're just purely one-off drawings. Some get developed. So something I like to do is take some of my sketch work, some of my drawings, and developing them into some digital programs. So like this one had a traditional sketch that I brought into Photoshop, worked out some of the design, and I liked this grocery store concept. And then some work that you'll be seeing today are some of my figure studies. So figure drawing from observation has been kind of a main part of my studies. I think one of my favorite classes when I was at CCS was the gesture classes with Carol Cabram. That one really helped me develop my line work. Really helped develop my just the way I see the world through drawing, and helped me kind of capture some of these just expressive lines that you might see. But first thing I want to show you guys are just some projects. I was lucky enough to take part in my first City Walls production with their Decleated project. And this project was hosted by City Walls and then their partner company Space Lab. And they put together a project that was interactive throughout downtown during the 2024 NFL draft. These sculptures, they selected, I think it was about going too far. They selected 20 different artists to paint, to decorate, to customize these cleats that were kind of strategically placed throughout the city. And this project was a lot of fun because painting has never been something that I've focused on. But whenever I come across projects that kind of push me out of my comfort zone, that's when it's kind of gets interesting. And all right, let's see how I could apply what I know to a project. So this project was something that never did before, never really worked on like a large format. These sculptures, if we get to kind of the size, I think they put the height at the size of Barry Sanders. So it was like 5 feet 8 inches for that. And City Walls, a wonderful organization. They're always doing community events, community callings, and something that I would recommend my students to check out kind of in the future as they're kind of working on their projects. And I'll show you some of the process here. So it all started with our initial design. And then each of these cleats too, were going to be auctioned off we got to pick our own organization. So the organization I chose was the American Indian Health and Family Services. They're located in Southwest Detroit, and all the proceeds went to them. They're working on building a new medical facility that they are trying to get funding for. So I thought they'd be a wonderful organization to help out. This was a fun day. My whole family came downtown and get to check it out. And then my wife, who is also a CCS grad in photography, helped with the photos. So she always makes my work look really nice. And her name is Kristen Najjar. Some of you may know her. And then, oh yeah, and then the cleats, they were fabricated by the Prop Art Studio, which I'm worked with a great friend, Ryan Wheeler. He's one of the artists there. And also Will Hennigan is also an artist that works there. So it was cool I got to visit their shop, and they're located right at the end of the Belle Isle Bridge, which is cool. Yeah, okay, that's the cleat project. After something that was mentioned at the intro, so I got into like the freelance industry. One of my first major projects was working with the Safe Pregnancy Foundation, a nonprofit that is working on a 5-book series. And in this project, it was a huge endeavor. I had to make all the imagery for all of their books. So some of this, like the foundation, the goal was to educate expecting mothers about complications that could happen in pregnancy. So the research and the development. I had to do many hours, and we worked with a few different doctors to. There was kind of like the audience that we're working with. They wanted to make sure that the drawings were uh, kind of fun, that the drawings were also educational because the foundation was started by a lawyer who wanted to provide information that if so that mothers, if something happened in pregnancy, that they had information if a doctor wasn't doing like providing the right practice, I guess. So some of these, well, we'll go through. So I learned about all the different breech positions, the kind of the proper uh, breastfeeding, and it was very educational. Something that when I went to school was not expecting, definitely not expecting to do after graduation, but a great learning experience. We had to learn about, or I had to learn about like different maneuvers, delivering the baby, birthing positions, all the different equipment. And I enjoy, for these, they're mostly digital illustrations. And then some I would get into, let's see if there's any in here. Let's see. Might come up. Some I would get into some 3D modeling. So I would set up using Maya, build out some 3D models, and then paint over. So that's how I would get into like these different kind of more molecular designs, learning about how they kind of in the different fertilization techniques. But it was an eye-opening project, but a fun one. Like here's another one, yeah, developing some of the anatomy. So the figure classes I took definitely helped kind of just prepare me for this project. And the book series is kind of still in development. My part in that project's done. They're kind of in the stage of formatting all of their information. So hopefully, they said in this next year, because they're trying to put all the books out as once. Another project I got to work on was with the Detroit Center for Design. They used to do a holiday walk festival. So this one, they got to, there was a few artists that got paired with some businesses. So I got paired with Desert Oasis, and I got to develop a window display for, I think it was from like November to December. And this was a fun project because I got to learn just how do I apply my designs to the window space and learn how to find a kind of the what's it called like the stickers that I was going to use. And I ended up going with fast signs in Detroit. They had I can't remember the sticker type, but here's some of the designs. But yeah, some process. Oh, decal. That's what it was. Yeah, decal stickers. And then I did this project twice. So I got to work with the first one was with Jolly Pumpkin, and I liked like when I was thinking about how to figure out the designs. I did like the way that it looked like it was frost kind of extending onto the window. I think next we'll jump into, we'll start with some figure work. So like I said, figure drawing has been uh, one of my favorite just art mediums, art practices. Uh, some recent ones, this was the Contemplating Meaning. And this one was in the alumni exhibition, I believe what year was that? Presented at the CCS alumni exhibition in 2024. And all my figure work is from observation. So I'll go into the studio, either like the Saturday drawing classes. Uh, Sometimes I'll have work from examples from my drawing two class, where I'll take kind of our demo or our sketch work, and then I'll in the studio develop, refine, and then ink. So, for example, like a drawing like this, I'll start in charcoal. I'll create my charcoal gesture, draw it out, and then do a transfer to either a mostly Bristol I like to work with, and then create my ink illustration. The biker. This was a recent one. This one was for the CCS alumni exhibition from this last year, the Cowboy. And this one was an example of a demo I did in our drawing two class of one of the live models. I can't remember his name, but he was great. So one of my favorite parts in that class is at the end of the semester, we get to set up costume sessions. So that's one of my favorite kind of weeks is we go to the prop shop or the prop studio here, and we kind of set up our scene. And this scene was our Western theme. And then for this one was a combination of some graphite, ink, and some marker. And then when I'm working in the inking process, some things I try to when I'm thinking about like forms and overlapping, I try my best. Oh wow, I really zoomed in. I try my best to think about kind of the surface. So instead of just kind of putting the lines wherever, I try to be as thoughtful as I can in following my underlying drawing. And then something that I was practicing or have been practicing is working on line density. So helping to show some of the depth. And then I think in some of my portraitures, this was in our one drawing that I shared in preparation for this. And this one was of a model from Shayna. And this was when, I can't remember what year was this was from, I think the year was on the first. Yeah, this one was 2015. And then there's a mix of some personal work and then some that are commissioned. So this one was one that I always liked. This was Arnie. And this one was from when I like to, some of the events that I've done in the past are art fairs. So I'll have people that see my work at the fair and then they'll come and reach out. So this was a portrait of this man. His wife wanted to get him a portrait of himself for his retirement gift. So he was a welder by trade, and this one was about, I think, what was the size? Yeah, it was 14, yeah, 14 by 17. And then one thing I'll show here is brandy. Some of you may know brandy. This was from uh, Cliff Harris was, when he was working here, he used to have a show called The Chronicles. And The Chronicles was a wonderful event where one model was selected and then all the artists got to do their own interpretation. So one year, Brandy was that model. And this was my excerpt. I actually don't have the full piece anymore. So these were some excerpts from the that full scale. And it was like a kind of a collage of images that I used. And then this one is a portrait I did of my sister. So we were just hanging out at the beach, and I took the sketch that I made, and then I finalized it for just because I thought it came out really cool. She was sitting looking out at the sunset, drinking her drink, and I thought it looked really nice. So I wanted to kind of showcase that moment, and that's how some of this artwork happens. I just always have my sketchbook with me, always drawing, and you kind of never know where that inspiration will kind of get started. Something that, along with figure, that I'm interested in is environments and perspective design. So I think in the cover image on the email, this was from a visit to Chicago. So when I was just walking on the sidewalk, the Delaware building really stood out to me. It was like we just kind of turned the corner, and it is, I think, one of I put the information there. It's a kind of a historic office building. So when I was there, I did a sketch of my vantage point, and then I took a photo so I could finish it later because I knew I was like, oh, that building is really interesting because it had like the curved corner, these kind of large windows on the front, on the street side, and just all the different intricate kind of molding for each level. And then that one was finished with ink, and then there was some marker and colored pencil. This one is from a shop that is in Atwater Street, right on the Detroit River, next to Atwater, right there. Uh, it's the path right before you get to the Detroit River Walk, and there's this old auto repair shop, and I just really like the way it looked. So anytime I'm on my walks or out in the world, if I usually something will strike me, and then I'm like, all right, I have uh, so many reference photos and sketches of places, and I wish I just need more time to build out some of these because they're beautiful areas. I like environments because there's just beauty in the textures, in the combination of kind of the window design, all the objects that kind of get randomly placed. I'm always a fan of just finding beautiful scenes within the world. And then some work is imagined. So this was actually from a demo from my drawing one class. So in this class, we were working on how to track shadows, how to track light, working in a 3-point view. So this was inspired by that demo project. So just kind of explaining, we were working through texture design, shadow and light design, so you can even see some remnants of the construction phase. But I like the way it looked. So I like to kind of share with my students, trying to build the scenes to share a story. and even with a simple scene with like a gate and a fence, like how can we make this kind of an interesting space through texture, through lighting, and then your line work. One summer I did get to spend some time in LA, which was interesting. A very different place. But these were some sketches that I did from life there. So uh, the it was a lot of fun being there. Um, and these were some places that yeah, caught my eye. There's there, the LA City Hall, and these were all done from observation. So most of the time, just kind of find a bench, and most of the city designs, the benches are kind of perfectly placed, so you get a nice vantage point. The Union Station, which when I was there, they actually they had a screening of that classic movie Chinatown there. So it was cool to kind of see. It was my first. I think actually it was my second time in LA, but seeing some of the places that in the movies were it was pretty cool. And then when I was there, I got to work with a film festival, and we were in downtown LA. So this was one of the theaters that was there. So during one of our breaks, went out and drew it, and then got to go to their Chinatown, which was a lot of fun. That was where the film festival, their office was located in the Chinatown. So I would go throughout and kind of explore, visit the restaurant where Rush Hour shot the first one. So that was pretty cool. And then the Walt Disney Concert Hall. Uh, I can't remember the architect's name, but I know he recently passed. But he was that building was incredible. The the story that was shared with me there was it was when it was first built, the hall was they didn't like brush the metal, so the reflection was so bright that it would uh, like cars couldn't see. It started burning. I think it was like the reflection was so bright it would start to burn things like depending on the angle of the sun. So they actually had to go back in and scrape and make it a little bit brushed. But that building was very interesting. And then some Detroit work. So this one was a project just documenting some historic sites. This was uh, the John S. Gray Library, so built in Detroit in 1906. But this one was a lot of fun, just putting all these different characters, imagining what it would be like back in the horse carriage era. And then, so I like to use traditional. So I think mostly we've been, or I guess some of the projects were digital, but I also like digital work as well. My preferred digital program is Photoshop, something that was just showcased recently for Sophia, a longtime model throughout the area who's inspired uh, many different artists and just being able to study and work from her during those sessions. Sophia had her anniversary show, 40 years in county at the Figurine in Ferndale. That took place in man, I can't remember the month, but this was my artwork for it. It was a gesture sketch that got I transferred to Photoshop, and then I finished it all digitally. And this one I gifted to Sophia. So she has if you ever talk to her, she has a huge amount of artwork throughout her career, and I was lucky enough to kind of take a look at it and visit. And she has a museum's worth of artwork, and I'm happy that one of my pieces has made it into that collection because she's a good friend of mine, and and it was a lot of fun to work on this. And that show featured many CCS alumni and faculty, so it was cool. That was a fun show. This one was a another one of those moments when I have a my dentist is in Southwest, and I was just waiting to kind of go into my appointment, and I noticed this house with this metal fence and gate, and I didn't have a lot of time to stay there, so I just did a quick sketch, and this was the kind of the final output all digitally. So I took that sketch and then kind of finished it out. But another one of those moments where I'm just anytime I'm out and I see something that of interest, I could be a potential art piece. And then summer, I used to. This one was inspired. The desk napping was inspired by. I used to do some in school workshops where I go into the Detroit Public School and mostly like animation, but I did like art and drawing as well. Some of that was with CAP, the continuity or yeah, CAP, and then some was with Living Arts, which is an organization in Southwest, and those were fun. So this one was from there was a student just taking a nap, like I did a quick sketch, and I thought uh, it was just a good pose during a low moment. And then my number one favorite ice cream spot, Burke's Igloo. This, if you've never been, it's in Hamtramck. If you like soft serve, that's that's the place to go. Located on I can remember that street, but I believe it is that uh, Kniff at the end of Kniff or towards the end. In my creative work, I like to explore some like imagined ideas. For example, like in this piano series, some of my designs are based in kind of these whimsical realms where I like to just kind of escape reality or imagine just ideas that maybe could exist. Like this was an idea of kind of a robot piano player playing in front of the kind of this collection of of kind of silly characters and sometimes I have like stories ahead of time, and sometimes the stories get developed from sketching. So this was kind of in that series. I always like these animatronic performers. Uh, don't know what will come of it, but I do like the style of, and the way that these look. This one was done recently, and it was just kind of the. I seem to be writing a lot of emails lately, so anytime I'm drawing, so somehow it's always like drawing somebody at the computer, and I think it's just like a subconscious thing that's built in now. Just lots of late night emails with with the screen lighting you. So I didn't know that that was going to be the story when this was made, but some of these drawings I feel like they come from yeah just experiences that I go through. Especially I have in my creative section here. Oh yeah, the feeling of grogginess. And then something I like to explore are different mediums. So like this one, I was working with some tone paper, and I had a ink brush pen, and I was just having fun, kind of exploring, laying down uh, uh, some uh, kind of blocking in some of the value or some of the color, and then just seeing kind of where the design came about. So on this one, I imagine these two characters in a this kind of secret meadow exchanging some flowers or showcasing some love. And then when I draw in this style, I kind of there's a mix. Sometimes it starts out as a sketch, and sometimes it's just a continual continual process. It just kind of builds as you're adding in shapes and designs. I always like this guy, the bike rider.
Hey, Josh, I just wanted to give you a heads up on time. We've got
Oh,
8 minutes. You can continue, but I didn't know if you wanted to, how much you
oh,
wanted to leave
yeah,
for questions.
I would like to go through questions. I think that'd be good.
And these are, I want you to click on every one of these. Every time I look at something, I'm like, wow, I want to see that up close. Or they're just amazing. So I don't want to interrupt because I love seeing everything. I just wanted to
Oh
let
yeah, I'm ready for questions. Yeah, I am. Something. I guess the couple things that I didn't get to go through were the some animations that I've worked on. Um, I would if you're interested in checking these out. Yeah, jmullyart.com. Um, some to note. They do like the stories of JT Leroy. They are stories of like hard drug use. So if you're sensitive to that, I would uh, just be aware. I think I need to put some disclaimer. And then the story Sarah by JT Leroy. These were made for a documentary film by Jeff Fiersig, and the stories were about kind of trans prostitution and heroin use. So if you are, those are, yeah, just be aware of those two. And then some personal projects that I've been working on, an anxiety project that I've been developing and ongoing. With animations, yeah, a time consuming thing. And then I do want to just kind of a project that I'm collaborating with a Detroit artist, John Strand. John Strand is he does pointillism, but he is also a wonderful storyteller. And his work, uh, he has some work that is in the DIA's permanent collection, and he's been working in uh, Detroit since I think yeah the '70s. An incredible an incredible artist and a really wonderful opportunity that I have. And I'm currently working on a story of his to animate. But yeah, I think, yeah, what are some questions here?
5 minutes. Feel free to raise your hand.
Oh, yeah, that was the architect. Yeah, Frank Gehry. Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So I thank you first of all. This has been very inspiring. Like I said, I'm really drawn to your figure work and your environments and the line work and the spontaneity kind of feeling that it has, the meditative quality it has, and I think I'm partially drawn to that kind of work because sometimes I do that kind of work. So my question for you is, how has your own drawing and artistic process informed how you teach challenging concepts?
Mm-hmm. Uh, yeah, I think for that, uh, what I try to express to the students, because some of the concept it is challenging. Like perspective is not an easy concept to get or to capture. Like you gotta know where your vanishing lines are going, and if it's not right, it's gonna look odd. So uh, when I'm working with students, I try to do my best to make sure their foundation shapes are set so that they can get to the fun step. So like the fun step is getting to the detail and the design. Some want to start right away on the detail and the design, but their foundational shapes, their base boxes just aren't right. So what I just try to do is simplify it before over complicating things, because that's where things will start to get kind of misproportioned and misshaped, especially in like figure drawing. Like figure drawing, to make all of your like to have your like I think the only reason like the design works on something like this is because that initial gesture, the volumes, the proportion, the attachments are all uh, like feel correct in that pose. So if it wasn't, then I think it would appear more flat. You wouldn't have as much dimension, and that's only because of the initial sketches, the initial volumes were worked out. So it never just starts like with the lines, uh, only in like the creative work, but by continually working on those foundational forms, that's where in that creative work, they just kind of happen naturally. Like you're able to build these volumes just naturally just by just that practice. So that's what I always try to tell them.
Thank you. Okay, we have time for one more question. Anybody?
And then I do want to shout out to, if there's no questions, the upcoming show, an event. So next Friday, I'll be participating in the Love Show at Spotlight, and there are it's a group show. So many talented artists. If you're looking for something to do next Friday, it's from time 6 to 9 p.m. And it's going to be a good time. Uh, there is, I could zoom in on the names. Some shout outs to my mother in law is going to be in there, Mary Najjar, my wife, my brother in law, the many great friends in here. I don't even know if I've looked at all of it. Oh, yeah, Donovan Glover, great artist, Monica Dubry, another wonderful artist. Uh, well, who else is on this list? Oh
Lucy
yeah,
Cahill.
who's that?
Lucy Cahill.
Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, Levon. If you've never seen this, I hope he's showing some of his like tapestry fabric work. Incredible. So the lineup is it's one to check out.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
So, Josh, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for sharing your thinking, your process, the really dynamic array of things that you do. It's been absolutely wonderful. Laura will have this video for you that you can share with your friends and family who could not make it. It'll go up on YouTube. We appreciate you making our midday break wonderful. So
Oh
thank you
yeah.
very much.
Yeah. And thank you everybody. And feel free to reach out. You can send me an email if you ever want to collaborate, if you ever want to discuss anything. Happy to yeah to present. And yeah, thank you everybody.
All right. Have a great day, everybody.